Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's Golf Wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you for your company on yet another episode of Hooked on Sport. Ben Hook is my name, and what a week it has been in golf, and we are so fortunate to have all of the expertise and insight of my co-host Sophie Hilditch, who finally has made it back to Australia. Welcome home, Soph.
Thanks, Ben. Happy to be home, though the weather, raining, don't really like it. I prefer my Malta sun.
You're not going to believe it, but we had sort of 4 or 5 absolutely bang-on beautiful winter days last week. And the minute you arrive home, you've brought the rain with you. So I don't know if you're teeing it up in the next few days, but I take an umbrella and a wet weather jacket.
Well, I think I've got family day coming up in about a week, so hopefully my family can just lift me up and I really don't have to do much except for walk down the fairways with an umbrella.
Massive week in golf. We're going to get into it all. I want to start with a Ben's Best tonight, and we're going away from golf this evening. I just want to congratulate Chelsea Randall of the Adelaide Crows AFLW team on what has been an exceptional career, 80 games for the club. She retires due to concussion-related issues, and we can understand with the courage that she has shown right throughout her career that was not inevitably an outcome. It's a very sad outcome, but at the same time, you have to put your health first, and she has suffered multiple concussions, and that is what has enforced the end of her career. I think she's always lived in the shadow of Erin Phillips, Sophie, and we can understand that Erin, when she made her arrival in the AFLW, she just dominated like no one else we had ever seen. But I really think where Erin's influence was in the game, whereas Chelsea's influence has been firmly with the Adelaide Football Club. I think she has really been the heart and soul of the AFLW program, perhaps more so even than Erin. Captained the club for 8 of her seasons in the competition. I think there's been sort of 10 seasons in the end when you add them all up. It's been an incredible career, and I just could not let this show go past without recognising everything that she has done. So congratulations to Chelsea Randall on what she's done for the game, but what she's done for the Adelaide Football Club as well, because she has been a leader in every aspect, and she's going to be sadly missed when she's no longer playing. But the legacy she'll leave behind will be for many, many years to come, Soph. So Chelsea Randall, Ben's Best for the week. Can you share with me Sophie's Star?
Well, Sophie's Star for me was a bit of a no-brainer. I think our listeners will be very familiar with his name, and I think they'll already know what I'm about to say, but it's one of the recipients for the Cameron Smith Scholarship, and that's our South Australian superstar, Jackson Leonard. And I don't really have to say much more, Ben, because Jackson has been kind enough to join us.
Jackson Leonard, welcome to Hooked on Sport.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, great. Welcome. Congratulations. Tell us, well, firstly, what is the Cameron Smith Scholarship?
So basically, the scholarship it just involves going to Cam's house for a few days, and then I'm lucky enough to go watch him at Live New York for a week. So yeah, it'll be super fun. Me and one of my good mates, Spencer, so two go from Australia each year, and yeah, just blessed to be me this time.
How did you find out about it?
Well, Wiki actually called me, so my coach Adrian, when I was over in Singapore, he called me, and we were talking about Singapore first, and then he kind of slipped in a few interesting questions that made me think maybe there was something to do with an opportunity in the US, and yeah, I think that was pretty exciting. It was cool to hear it from him.
Well, it's even more exciting because you've had an amazing result over in Singapore, finishing second. So was that before you teed it up, or was that during the tournament?
No, that was the night after the final round. So when we just got back to the hotel, and yeah, I think it was pretty cool. I think it was after a pretty fun week as well. So just kept it going.
Super exciting celebrations, I imagine. You also mentioned that you're joining and you're going to Live New York. Does that mean you're also going to be with Lucas Herbert, Mark Leishman, and a past recipient, Elvis Smiley?
Yeah, I believe so. I think we're lucky enough to hang out with the Ripper boys, and I think it should be good fun hanging out around them and learning as much as you can.
Will you compare scholarship trophies with Elvis?
I mean, a little bit of a different time, but he's gone on to do some pretty cool things. So yeah, if I could follow that way in the next few years, I'd be doing all right.
Talking about professional golfers, my understanding is you're very good mates with Jack Buchanan, another lad out of the Glenelg Golf Club. He's someone who, probably similar situation to you 4 or 5 years ago, and now is really starting to make his mark in the professional game. Just describe your relationship with Butch.
Yeah, well, it's been pretty cool kind of growing up, looking up to him. I think when I was kind of real youngster around Glenelg, he was maybe 13, 14. So I guess it's cool to see kind of how he's gone through the program and how he's kind of started on the pro tour, and it's good to see him going well. Yeah, we hope that a few good results in the next little while.
Fellow Glenelg boy, I'm always a little bit envious of the camaraderie you guys have. It always looks great, and a lot of exceptional golfers come out of Glenelg, and you guys have had some really successful pennant seasons, obviously, in 2025. Can you explain the support that Glenelg has given you? We've had the honour of going and playing the new revamped course, and it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool club, and I think it's just so good that everyone gets around each other. It's a good community and a good kind of family course as well. Like, I think whenever you're up in the bar and stuff, you always end up talking to heaps of people. And yeah, I think I've really enjoyed my time there, and it's always good fun to get around everybody and yeah, see how we go.
I do want to talk to you about pennants, but just describe the junior culture. So, Jack, you're still officially a junior at Glenelg, a very mature one, I might add, but I know you're pretty good mates with Fletcher Ryan, good mates with Zoe Manton, and not only are they wonderful young people, but they're excellent golfers as well. So, is there a really strong culture amongst the juniors to try and sort of push each other to improve?
Oh, definitely. And I think there's not quite as many at the moment kind of around my age, but growing up, I had heaps of people that were kind of just that little bit older. And it was amazing to be able to kind of go down and practice every day and know that there was 4 or 5 people that you were practicing and playing alongside. And yeah, I mean, we're still all really close. So it's good kind of in and outside of golf, I think, to just be able to create, yeah, amazing friends to be around as well.
You've had some great success in the 2026 season to date, but your breakout win was in 2025 at the SA Junior Masters, if I'm
Yeah.
correct. What was it like to get your first win at home with all the home support?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And those couple of events I've played for ages, you kind of play as a young junior where you're more playing for experience. And then it's funny how your expectations grow a little bit the more you play them and you're trying to see if you'd be in the hunt. I remember that week being a bit interesting because I think I was tied for the lead going into the last round at the junior amateur and ended up finishing second and started the final round of the junior masters 7 back. So it wasn't quite as it wasn't the anticipation wasn't quite as high, but ended up playing a solid round and then winning in a playoff, which was yeah, it was really cool.
Must have been a bit more than a solid.
Yeah, I think I had 5 under, and I think a hot finish. I think there was yeah a number of birdies coming home, and I think that was definitely helpful going into a playoff, coming off a bit of a hot run.
We'll take Glenelg as a given. Do you have a favourite course in Adelaide if it's not the Glenelg Golf Club?
I enjoy Kui. I think I like courses that are kind of a little bit more tree line. I enjoy playing on kind of fast and quick greens and just kind of enjoy the creativity side of it. But I think Royal grew on me a little bit in the last couple of years after a few events playing fairly well at Royal. I enjoy it more going back there now. But yeah, I'd probably say Kui outside of Glenelg.
Gee, Sophie, he saved himself talking to 2 Royal Adelaide members down the computer screen.
It was a very, very much a very quick save. I was like, surely the answer is Royal Adelaide. He's just won at Royal Adelaide in 25, but no, he's gone Kui where he finished second, Hookie.
Jack, I'm told that you have grown quite a lot in the last 12, 18 months. I'll declare full disclosure here, mate. I've had a long conversation with Michael Munn today, and you were not the only topic that we got to, but certainly a feature one. He had a lot of glowing things to say about you, but has it been difficult to, I guess, maintain how you swing and all of your posture and stance as you've gone from, I don't know, 5'8" to 6'2" or something like that?
Yeah, not quite 6'2", but definitely went from being someone that was already pretty skinny and pretty small, and growing a lot in the last couple of years. I think has been amazing for definitely a lot of parts of my game, and can be a little bit of a struggle. Like I've always been someone that's had to work on posture and fundamentals to kind of keep that kind of stuff up. But I mean, yeah, there's nothing more helpful than growing a little bit and being able to hit it a bit further, which, yeah, has been cool in the last little while.
It's just one other thing that Money said was he's been always super impressed with how well you deal with emotional setbacks in the game. So he's seen a lot of young lads your age. He's played a heck of a lot of pennant where one or two bad holes and things can fall off the rails. Where have you learned or developed the skill of being able to maintain your emotions and stay in a round of golf?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I think like playing a lot of golf, you kind of go through definitely a lot of highs and lows, and like expectations play a big factor in that, I think. Yeah, I think it's a hard one. I'm not kind of too sure, but I think just being able to kind of be relaxed and go out and have fun. I think there's always going to be results that you're always a little bit disappointed about, but you can't really control it after you've hit the shot. So I think trying to focus as much as you can on kind of the present and what you're going to do next. And yeah, I think the more I play, the more you kind of realize that you can't avoid the bad, but you can try and make a couple birdies coming home when a round's not going great and save it a little bit. So yeah, but I think just mainly having fun, just enjoying what you're doing, and yeah.
Sounds like you got a great head on your shoulder. I might need you on my bag every now and then, Jackson. It's a bit more positive than what I talk about. But just turning back to the Cam Smith Scholarship, obviously all this work you've been doing on your swing and also your mental game is what sounds like it's got you there. What's the thing you're most looking forward to playing and spending a week with Cam Smith?
I think just asking heaps of questions. I think like yeah, being able to spend a week with him and kind of see how he prepares, see how he goes about it, and yeah, I mean just being with him and trying not to irritate him too much, but giving him questions that I might have or things that I can kind of learn from and take into the next few years or into pro golf and stuff like that. I think it's just a cool opportunity as well, just to hang out with a few cool people.
Have you heard from him yet? Did he directly contact you when he gave out the scholarship?
I haven't heard from him yet, no, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, after you've had the full conversation, Jack, we're going to bring you back on the show and you can give us all of the insight because,
All the secrets.
everything, well, just how do you win a players championship or how do you win an open championship? I'm sure that he'll be able to unlock those secrets for you. Jack, it's going to be an incredible experience for you. We're super proud of you. Congratulations on everything you've done. And, the last 6-7 months for you have just been exceptional. 6-0 in the Junior Interstate Series. And then, of course, that incredible performance in Singapore. You've thoroughly deserved this, mate. We really look forward to seeing you continue to develop. Thanks for your time tonight on Hooked on Sport.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think I lost one in junior interstate, but
I
yeah,
overlooked that. Once you'd won 6, it's such a good record. It doesn't matter. You could lose 5 in a row. We wouldn't care after that. Jack, congratulations, mate. Well done. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jackson. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Jackson Leonard, our guest there. He is the Cam Smith Scholarship recipient. And, well, Sophie, just for a 17-year-old, what an impressive young man he is.
Incredible. Love speaking to him and so kind to come onto the show for us.
Let's turn our attention to the Women's PGA Championship. It was played at Hazeltine. It finished this morning. The winner was Hae-Run Yu, who took it out by 2 strokes. It's heavily affected by weather, in particular on the last day, and there's a couple of TV issues around it as well that we'll probably discuss. But what did you make of the tournament as a whole? You probably have spent, well, I think you did share with me that you've been hopelessly jet lagged since you got home, so sleep all day and up all night. Tell us, what did you make of this tournament?
Well, the weather delays were really a pain because I was awake the whole time. So just waiting for the leaders to finally set on stage. But incredible performance for Hae-Run Yu. I mean, she'd actually just had a surgery only about 5 weeks ago. So she'd missed the US Open and this is one of her first appearance.
Yeah.
So absolutely incredibly outstanding. She was 10 shots back after round 1. I think it's the first player in about 62 years. That date is at Sorry, that stat's at the top of my head, so please, listeners, correct me if I'm wrong. Just put it in the DMs or something. I probably am wrong, but I thought it was incredible, Ben. It's probably not my favourite course to watch. It really was a bit of a bomb and gouge, which I don't love watching the girls play. With the weather, it softened up the greens a little bit, and I wasn't as excited, but it was an interesting final round. I think by round six, here you can tell I'm jet lagged, can't you? By by hole 6, Hayron had actually lost the lead. She started with 3 bogeys through 5 holes, and
She
it was
did.
Drewy Weber, who had an eagle on 7, who finally took over that lead. And she actually, which is a pretty impressive and cool stat, is the first Dutch person ever to finish top 10 in a major, which I heard on the commentation. That's how you know I was up at 3
Yes.
a.m., Ben.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool thing. Unfortunately, she lost the lead really quick, bogeyed 8 and 9, but she still finished pretty strong, finishing T3. And Hayron then just kind of hit this birdie stretch in that mid range and kind of then became unstoppable when everyone else just kind of started falling apart, really. I mean, it felt a bit sad watching Brooke Henderson. I don't think she really had a birdie part after the 10th hole, and she kind of looked like she was just hanging on in and just making a couple of scrambles or putting it to 30 foot and then just 2-putting. So I don't know, it felt kind of anticlimactic, but to see Hayron win and play as beautifully as she did for 3 straight days and come back and keep herself in it, I really enjoyed that aspect.
We were on Nelly watch because she was chasing her 3rd major title in 3 straight tournaments, having taken out the Chevron and the US Open. What did you make of her chase for 3 straight?
Pretty solid chase. I mean, it would be hard. It's all they were talking about the whole time. The cameras were always on Nelly Korda. I mean, she's been number 1 in the world for a long time, so she's used to that pressure. But for some reason, it feels like it really has vamped up. I also think the women's game, looking around, there's so many more fans out there than there has been in the past, which is great and excellent to see. I think her commitments have obviously increased. I mean, I actually got a shock that they were interviewing the women on the range before they went to tee off, not after the round, before the round. And it's just interesting, you don't often see the men getting interviewed right before they're about to tee off, but the women are kind of putting that extra little push to try and get their ratings up, try and get people watching them a little bit more, which I love because you start to see some personality. I mean, they interviewed Hayron just being like, what do you feel about doing in the final round? And I think she said something along the lines of, I was feeling really nervous, but now it started raining. I'm too focused on the rain, so I've forgotten that I'm nervous. It was quite funny and a very cute interview. But I thought, can you imagine trying to shove a microphone in Rory McIlroy before he plays a final round? I just think you'd get it shoved straight back in your face.
Xander Schauffele is someone I think would really appreciate that, or Patrick Cantlay. He'd be really gracious with the media under those circumstances. The media and the broadcast was interesting, Soph, and I'd love your thoughts on this, but the women played the final round of a major in 3s, with the final group going off at 9:30 local time, because the broadcasters didn't want it to compete with the Travellers Championship, which we'll get to. The Travellers, of course, is one of the... I don't even know why the tournament exists, to be quite frank. The week after the US Open, no one really is interested in playing a gritty, tough tournament. You talked about Hazeltine, which is a pretty terrible course, being especially soft and underwhelming. Well, TPC River Highlands is probably 3 times worse than that. So what did you make of the fact that once again the women for a major kind of had to make way for the men?
Well, that's the other thing as well. If you're listening to it, I was listening to it on KO. They're having to jump between channels as well. So if you're watching it as a spectator, you actually have to change the channel and go into. And I can't imagine how annoying that must feel. And it just kind of makes it feel so B grade. Whilst the golf was incredible, and I don't know if our listeners understand, the KPMG for the women is like the men's version of the PGA, and that's exactly what it is. We had PGA professionals that are women competing in this event. Only one made the cut, which was pretty cool to see, and she was ecstatic. I think only 5 actually competed in it. It's mainly the professional playing
Touring pros.
touring pros that are in there. But look, I was severely disappointed. It's something that the women are continuing to battle against. The purse is one of the highest purses they've ever had, so the money in this situation is not the issue. The golf was incredible. They were battling a lot of different things. I mean, the leaderboard was also completely splattered with different countries, different nationalities, different abilities. We had bombers, we had the shorter hitters, we had the exceptional putters who I know we'll get to, but Karis Davidson was up there with putting. I think her stats were +9 for putting. It was incredible. So it's just super disappointing, and the women are constantly having to, I mean, how are they meant to progress the game if they're not getting the media coverage at the same time? And I understand that the game is not as popular, the women's game is not as popular yet as the men's, but how are we ever going to make it popular if it's not getting viewed? Or if it is getting viewed, it's not getting viewed in a easy manner. It's annoying and frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it is a massive problem that the television deal has essentially been done by the PGA Tour, where the women are getting short shrift. And if there's one thing that I would recommend the LPGA did, firstly, I would be trying to lean into where can I find some biggest hits and maybe some alternative times. Are they better off trying to maybe go to some Saturday finishes? I wonder if that might work a little bit better rather than take on the men head to head and I guess be on the receiving end of always the cruddy tea time. That'll be something that they'll need to think about as they go forward. You did touch on it though, Soph. Karis Davidson was the best of the Australians. Probably the curiosity out of the entire event was the two big-name Aussies, Minjee Lee and Hannah Green, who have both previously won this tournament, were the two who actually missed the cut. The rest of the Aussies did pretty well, led by Karis Davidson. Just give us a quick overview.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking me about what Nelly Corder was like. Well, Karis Davidson played with her both Saturday and Sunday,
She
and I was
did.
getting frustrated. I was seeing too much of Nelly, and I wanted to see more of Karis. I was like, put Karis on. She's even playing better than Nelly at this stage. But no, she was incredible to watch. She basically didn't miss a shot. She shot 5 under overall, which is her best place finish T12. She played in the US Open. We spoke about her then. She was the last one in the field for the US Open and one of the highest performing Aussies. I think Grace Kim just pipped her in that one. But she was incredible. But her putting, Ben, I mean, she was holding par putts left, right, and centre. I think she held about 10 over Saturday, Sunday from about 5 to 15 feet. She was just an absolute machine. And it was really good to hear the commentators actually talking about it. And I imagine for some of those commentators, probably the first time they've really got to see Karis Davidson play because this is, her rookie season on the LPGA, or is this her second season there now?
She came in the second half of last year.
I think so, yeah. So they haven't really seen much of her. She hasn't really made many major appearances, and when she hasn't been performing. But this is now 2 majors in a row, and it's just so exciting to see. And I actually can't wait to see her in the upcoming majors because we've got 2 coming in the next 4 weeks. We've got the Evian and the Open coming up. It's a really busy schedule for the women, and I imagine we'll be seeing Karis Davidson at both of those.
Yeah, so Grace Kim, of course, will be defending at the Evian, and Hannah Green and Minjee Lee, we know full well that they are going to certainly be competitive. That's just a blip on the radar for the two of them. Sophie, this time last week, the PGA was gearing up. This is the PGA Tour, I beg your pardon, was gearing up to announce a range of schedule changes that'll be for the 2028 season. There's going to be 2 tracks, a championship track and a challenger track. There'll be very little movement between the 2 tracks. They really are shoring up, I guess, playing opportunities for as many professional golfers as they possibly can. I'm sure you've had some opportunity to read through how that all looks like. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it's interesting, Ben. I actually quite like it because it shortens up the season, which means national opens like the Aussie Open are going to become more prominent. And we're hoping to get players over here. Obviously, we've spoken about it. PGA is now with the Australian Open as well as the DP World Tour. And with this break, it's meant to go from about Feb to August, which means they will have the time to go and travel back home, particularly the European players or the Australasian players will be able to come back home and actually compete. I mean, we're probably going to talk about the Canadian Open because that is in question as to whether or not it will be on the top tier schedule for the PGA in 2028 or whether or not that's going to fall away or if they're going to have to move it into the full season, just like all the other international opens. But look, I quite like it. I think it gives the players a bit of a break, which they've always wanted. I've always found that off-season, which is not an off-season, the events are normally pretty appalling. You're not really getting that top-end players. They have kept it pretty vague, Ben, in terms of they haven't nutted out all the details yet. This is kind of just an opening statement to let everyone know that this is what is happening. So it's kind of hard to have a massive opinion on it before you see those fine details, I always think. And I think Patrick Cantlay is on that committee that helped decide, and he's one of the ones that abstained from voting. And he basically said that in his interview recently. He said, well, they haven't fine-tuned the details, and I'm sure it will progress the future of golf and blah, blah, blah. He obviously hates it for some reason, but is smart enough to not tell us why he hates it before the details come out, which I think is a smart move. What I did find interesting, though, is this model is going to get rid of any exemptions and any alternates, which I'm curious as to see what sponsors think, particularly for sponsored events, because, I mean, that means players like Ricky Fowler in some eras wouldn't have got in, but he's a massive draw card. People love Ricky Fowler, and even when we're looking at Jordan Spieth when he was playing really bad and he's got a few exemptions, he wouldn't be in the field. And It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I'm, for one, think it's great. I think having the best players play against each other and having a relegation system, meaning they're having to fight for their spots, is great. But I don't think sponsors will feel it's the best thing for them, because I think they're going to want some of the big draw card names regardless of how they're playing.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I'm very happy to see the back of sponsor exemptions. I mean, that sort of stuff just doesn't happen in any other sport. It's got to be a meritocracy. Could you imagine Michael Jordan, or I don't know, who's a good example, Tom Brady, suddenly getting a drive in a Formula One car because he's a bit of a celebrity and they're looking for that extra publicity? Now, I know I'm taking that to absolute extremes, but if Ricky Fowler wasn't good enough to be getting a berth on merit, then he doesn't deserve to be in those tournaments. That's the way it happens in professional sport. And I've always been a bit surprised that they've had to lean into these sponsor exemptions. Yeah, I understand sponsors are important, but I would have thought the credibility of your event is even more so. So much to talk about with all of that, Soph, and we'll get that into the coming weeks, but all of your points are really well made. So, yeah, great for the Australian Open. Going to be interesting to see how it happens for a national open that is, in particular, PGA Tour event like the Canadian Open. It's notoriously the week before the US Open, and I reckon there's going to be some Canadians who want to play in it and can't because they're going to be in the wrong track. That's going to be a really fascinating watch. Soph, we talked about the travel. It's an event that I just don't understand why we have it. It's $20 million, and the defending champion, Keegan Bradley, came out and said, yeah, we really love this event because it's almost like a week off. It's so relaxing and so easy. And I'm thinking, this is professional sport. Why shouldn't it be, tough and a grind and a challenge? But no, they like it easy and friendly. So, I mean, this is another example of how professional golf, I just don't understand how it measures itself against every other professional event, because I want to see something that is, it's a funny event because it's very, very popular. It's at TPC River Highlands. It's in a very, very populous part of New York. They do get good crowds, but it's not really a serious event. It's going into a playoff in about an hour and a half, Soph. What have you made of the tournament thus far?
Where I kind of sit exactly with you, and it kind of just makes me even more angry and want to go back to talking about the LPGA and the KPMG, if I'm honest. They like it because it's easy, and yet they're making it the top priority. Anyway, I'm not going to go back there. Look, I thought it's entertaining enough. I mean, it was made more entertaining in the fact that there's a playoff, and I'm sure this podcast will be released, and we're probably going to put our predictions as to who's going to win out of Scotty and Vic Hovland. But
who are you taking?
I'm taking Vic. I'm sorry, I've just been in
I'll
Norway.
take Scotty. That's fine.
I'm taking my Norwegian. I actually think, though, they had rain delays there as well. Like we kind of mentioned, they got really waterlogged and the course completely changed. Scotty got blessed on 18. He's hit a woeful drive out into the rough, and he got blessed with the best lie ever. I mean, absolutely kissed. It was incredible. So I think this is definitely a deserving win for Vic Hovland. I mean, he then left his birdie putt short in the jaws, which just even angered me even more. And Scotty's absolutely boxed about a 10-footer. So it just annoyed me. But I think Scotty didn't want to play Vic straight away. I don't think he wanted to do it in a playoff because he was actually striping the ball after those rain delays and looked incredible. And Scotty looked a little bit shaky for Scotty Scheffler. But I think after a night's sleep, it's really anyone's game.
Yeah, Scotty didn't have his best stuff, and heading towards the Open Championship, which is only, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks away now, isn't it? For someone who expects to be competitive and right at the pointy end of major titles, Scotty, I think this will do a lot for his confidence if he can get the win. On the flip side, Victor Hovland, well, you know only too well, so if you have described it beautifully for us, he is a bit of a Fruit Loop. We've seen him on the range wearing kids' pool floaties, just trying to use them as some sort of swing aid. I don't quite understand how that works. He missed the cut at the US Open last week and spent hour after hour on the range, so he really has tried to grind and groove his swing, and it's great. So it's great to see him back at the pointy end of a tournament that, yeah, to be honest, if this tournament didn't exist, it certainly wouldn't bother me at all. Eugenio Ciccaria has won the Italian Open. Talking about bad golf courses, and Hazeltine, terrible. TPC River Highlands, just a diabolical place that I would never want to see in my entire life. If they blew that up, it wouldn't be soon enough. And I have to say, Soccolo Golf Torino, which is where this event was played, was one of the most shabby-looking golf courses I've ever seen in my life. How the whole of Italy, they can't find a better course than that is beyond me. But just credit to Eugenio Ciccaria. Sophie, about 5 weeks ago, he got into, I think it was a 7-for-2 playoff to get into the US Open in US Open qualifying. and decided not to play in the 7-for-2 playoff because he wanted to catch a flight to go and play in a European Tour event. He wanted to leave that night. He was going to have to miss his flight. And so he decided to pull out of the playoff. And everyone sort of railed against him and said, come on, it's the US Open. Why wouldn't you be trying to get in? And he said, look, I'm determined to get onto the PGA Tour. I'm going to do that through qualifying in the top 10 of the European Tour. It was more important to me to be better prepared for this European Tour event than to try and qualify for the US Open and maybe not get through anyway. He's had 2 wins subsequent to that, so absolutely full credit to him. And it's almost certain now, alongside Patrick Reed, that he's going to be playing on the PGA Tour next year. So full credit to him on that. Someone who probably isn't going to get full credit is Phil Mickelson, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to catch up with this story, Soph, but Alan Shipnuck, a well-known journalist in the US, he's writing for a website called Scratch Golf. He did an interview with 19 different people who are very much across the life and times of Phil Mickelson. It is one of the all-time great journalism takedowns of Phil, who is someone that I've had a lot of love and respect for, but it's pretty tragic to see the downfall of Phil Mickelson. His subsequent reaction to the release of this story is that he's pulled out of the Open Championship. It means he won't play any of the 4 majors this year. And I mean, I don't know if you've got any comment on the content within that article, but I think we would both agree that it is pretty sad to see the downfall of someone who was, well, Tiger Woods aside, the biggest name in world golf.
Well, we haven't seen Phil Mickelson play professional golf since March this year. So it's been a long time since we've seen him. Yep. And the accusations, like you've mentioned, and you've kind of danced around it, are all unwarranted sexual advances towards people. And it's a touchy subject. They're obviously accusations, Ben. So we've got to always say that. I'm a lawyer, so I know they're allegations, and he hasn't really made a lot of comments on some of them. Some of them are old allegations, which he has admitted to from the past. These new fresh ones, he's chosen not to comment, and he's keeping it quite private and quite in-house at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get kind of brought out after Alan Shipnuck's comments last Monday, or was it this Monday? I can't remember now, sorry.
Late last week.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has to kind of come out because these are new and fresh allegations from these 2 incidents. One of them are against one of his former players, Pat Perez's wife, which I'm sure has caused a bit of uproar. But look, I always find it's really hard, and Tiger Woods is a name that always comes up when you're talking about these kind of things, to separate the athlete from the person themselves. And it's probably too long of a discussion to have on this podcast, Ben, when we're already about 35 minutes into this recording. But I always find it hard. Are we meant to uphold athletes to a higher standard off the sporting arena in their private lives? And are we really meant to be looking into that? But there's arguments for both sides, and I don't quite know where I sit. On this one, I'm a bit disgusted in Phil Mickelson, but he's been a controversial character for a long time. I mean, you just need to read Alan Shipnuck's book, which is a very interesting read if people haven't read it before, and it caused uproar, and I don't think Phil and Alan are best pals whatsoever.
No.
There was lots of debates as to whether or not a lot of those aspects of that book in that interview was actually meant to be kept confidential and was off the record, and when it was on the record. And according to Alan, it was all on, and according to Phil, I think about 1/3 of that book was meant to be released, and the other 2/3 was definitely not. So he's been a controversial character for a long time. Gambling habits and this kind of stuff isn't the first time it's popped up, but it's obviously he's in the firing line at the moment.
Yeah, athletes always get more than enough opportunities to redeem themselves, and Tiger Woods is the classic case in point. He's had all sorts of challenges in his life, but he's still broadly revered. And Phil Mickelson is probably in that same category, but he has, with everything that we've read, and even if half of it's true, Soph, he's got a heck of a lot of making up to do, and he's probably burnt more bridges than he'll be able to genuinely recover from. So that's going to be a watch. But it is, a really sad thing for Liv as well, because, he is one of their flag bearers as an event. And not only does it look like they're potentially going to lose Rahm and Bryson because they can't afford to pay their contracts, but if they lost Phil as well, another one of their really big personalities and identities, it will be, yet another nail in the coffin for that tournament.
Well, I actually think Tiger's probably a little bit happy at the moment because there's a bit of chat about Tiger coming out to discuss the new PGA format. And everyone was talking about the fact that it wasn't, like, rehab wasn't addressed at all. And he's just kind of appeared and just been there and everyone's questioning it. And then all of a sudden this stuff's come out about Phil. He's probably quietly fist pumping, thinking we've now just blown over all of that and we can move on.
Only Tiger Woods could just stride out there and start talking about that, and no one is prepared to ask a question about, have you finally got yourself a chauffeur? You're still driving yourself around the streets of Florida. It's going to be a fascinating watch. Very quickly, Caitlin Pearce, good friend of yours, former pennant teammate, now on the Epsom Tour, played on the weekend, T39. I believe her coach, Tony Christie, is heading over there to spend some time with her. So hopefully that is enough to get her from where she currently is, which is ranked 23 in the race for the card, and she needs to get inside the top 15.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully Tony can help push her over that line. I think she's going to need a win in her next 3 starts, which is obviously a bit hard. And I think they're 3 consecutive starts, which even makes it a little bit harder. But otherwise, hopefully, if she doesn't quite get into that 15, she's looking in good stead for getting a card through the LPGA qualifying school as well. So fingers crossed for Caitlin. Hopefully Tony can go over there and give her some words of wisdom.
Sophie, I had a little think about just starting to incorporate just a bit more local content into what we talk about each week. I know that a lot of our listeners are local golfers and not necessarily connoisseurs of the European Tour or the PGA Tour or the LPGA, and there are a lot that are, but there are a lot that maybe just love their own golf. So I thought it might just be worthy to just invest a little bit of time in discussing the courses and the holes that we love or find the most frustrating. And we're going to start with hole ones right round South Australia. We're going to talk about what our favourite is, what our best is, what our hardest is, and maybe if we've had a hard luck story anywhere. Can you tell me which hole you think is doesn't have to be the best, but what is your own personal favourite first hole of any course in South Australia?
Look, there is not a single first hole that I ever can call my favourite. I hate every single first golf hole ever. It doesn't matter how good of a hole it is. If I'm standing on that first tee, and I often forget to warm up, even though I tell everyone to warm up, if I'm just going out for a social round, I do not warm up ever. I'm now about to hit my 30s, Hookie. I'm getting a little bit older. I now can't do that like I used to be able to do, so it's pretty woeful. I hate first holes. So I'm sorry, I'm refraining. I'm not commenting on a favourite hole because I don't have a single one. If I get a bogey, I think that's quite comfy. If I get a birdie, I'm absolutely shitting myself for the rest of the round because I know it's going to be a nightmare.
Well, this is going to be great content. After all, I'm going to give you mine. My favourite is a course called Tanunda Pines, a place that you have played routinely. Now, I tell you what I love about it is you've got some options. So, yes, you haven't really warmed up. There is a driving range out the back of Tanunda. I have to say I've never used it. I've pulled in the car park after the hour and a quarter drive or whatever it is, got the clubs out, gone straight to the first tee, and then I've looked there and I thought, is this an iron down the left or is this take driver and try and smack it onto that green first up? I just reckon that's fun. Now, yes, I'd probably prefer if it was about 7 holes in before I had that much fun, but it's a little bit uphill, big dog leg left to right. You can bail out and play a hybrid or an iron out to the left-hand side and then have a wedge into what's a very, very skinny, difficult to access green. But in particular, if the rough's a bit down in that waist area between tee and green, I just reckon it's good fun to try and pull out driver and try and maybe whack it into that front bunker or even get it over and somewhere near the green. I've never hit the green, of course, but that is my favourite first hole in South Australia, Tanunda Pines, hole 1. I want you to assess for me, if you don't have a favourite, do you have a best? One that you think is actually the best opening hole in the state?
Oh, everyone is going to tell me that I'm super duper biased because it's my home club, but I'm going to have to go Royal Adelaide. And it's kind of for the reasons that you've talked about, Tanunda in a weird way. Completely different hole. It is a dogleg to the left if people haven't played it. It's got a front bunker protecting it on the left-hand side. It's quite long and skinny and thin. It's not particularly wide, but I find it completely an interesting first hole. If you played it in the middle of the round, it's an absolute peach. It's so easy. But if you're playing it as a first hole for the bigger hitters, if you hit driver, it brings out some real crap out right. If you block it, it's basically a lost ball in that thick rough. If you hook it down left, you're in the trees, or in winter, you're in some seriously thick rough. But if you do hit and you middle your driver, you've got an easy wedge into a pretty easy green. The alternative is you hit a shorter club and an iron and you have to bail out a bit right. And that does open up the green for you and give you a bit of a shoot, but it means you're going to have about 160, 170 metres into this green. Not quite the green you want, because if you're in that bunker, on my yardage book, Ben, I write a thing called dead on it, and it's not a bunker that you want to go into. A back left pin is dangerous. A front right pin looks like it should be easy, but it actually all funnels in there. There's a lot of break, and it's pretty easy to come up short, or even worse, go a little bit long and you're in a bit of rough. So I find the hole is quite a soft opening hole, but it's quite a fair opening hole. I think it's really easy to get a par there, but it's also really easy to get an absolute soft bogey. But birdies are still on the cards. If you hit a good drive away, or even if you hit a good long iron in, you can easily put it to 6 foot and have a little bit of a putt at it.
Fair enough, mate. And don't be ashamed about talking up Royal Adelaide. It is, voted or ranked as the number one course in South Australia. It's not a bad place to play. I think the best, you're probably not going to believe this, but our old friend Neil Crafter, one of the designers, I think the first at Mount Compass is the nicest, most fun, most entertaining, beautiful vista, lovely way to get off to a round. Another place that you spend a lot of time in the car and you don't necessarily do a great warm-up, but it's an elevated tee block. You've got that big long bunker running down the right-hand side. It looks tight because you've got that thick rough over on the left-hand side, but it's a pretty generous landing area off the tee. Again, a little bit like the first at Royal Adelaide. You can try and poke it up the right as far as you like and bring that bunker into play, but at the same time have a pretty straightforward wedge-type shot here. It's a big, generous green. There isn't a lot of trouble. That bunker, there's another big bunker on the right of the green, but you can bail out a little bit towards the left. Big green, some 3-putts potential on that green. But I just think it's a nice way to get a round underway on a really underrated golf course in South Australia.
I've got a story for you there, Hookie.
Go on.
My first ever Varden was at the Mount Compass Golf Club. I had no idea what I was doing, absolutely no idea. And I hit my drive over the corner, perfect drive. I'm thinking this is bizarre. I don't even know really like how I play a tournament. I've got my dad on the bag. He's got no idea as well. I'm playing against seasoned players. She was very much a junior at the time, but Caitlin Pearce was playing with me. It's the first time I ever met her. And one of my best friends, Emma Sutton, who went off and played college golf, was also playing. Yeah,
she was Glenelg, wasn't she?
She was a Glenelg girl, yep. And then all of a sudden I had a wedge in my hand. I was thinking, what am I doing here? I've kind of just duffed it, nutted it to the middle of the green. And then I had a fabulous 4-putt and my round did not get any better. But I will say I came second. Out of the 3 girls that were competing, I came second. But
That's
it wasn't
amazing.
pretty.
Well done. Not last. It's a silver medal.
Not last.
Well done, Soph. Brilliant. Have you got a hole, and we're not going to talk about worst holes here, but if you've got a hole that's sort of the hardest, or if you've got a hard luck story, maybe it is one at Mount Compass, but is there a first hole that you've had an absolute nightmare on? I know that I've got one. Or is there one that you just find really hard to play first up?
Oh, that's easy. It's Tea Tree Gully for me. That dogleg left down the hill. I am a drawer of the ball, which is an absolute nightmare on that hole.
You're in the left rough for sure.
Oh, yeah, those 7 a.m. Varden starts when it's really cold and you're trying to hit a little baby cut against the slope to try and hold yourself up there along that right-hand line to have a good shot at the green. Because I don't have the distance to be able to hit this awesome high draw, but even if you do, you probably end up in the trees. And that green is all sloping the opposite way, so as soon as you try to play the punch out, it's just such a difficult shot. But it's a great little hole, but it's a hole, that tee shot in particular is a hole that I will always dread as my first shot of my round.
First at Aston Hills for me. It's a good hole, really good hole. In fact, it's beautifully framed, elevated tee shot. Those 2 big trees either side of I guess frames the tee shot, if you like. So it's a wonderful hole. But my goodness, I'm not super long, Soph, and you've played with me enough to know that it's not like I can hit it out of my shadow, but not much further than that. So a 410, 415 metre par 4 off the first at a place like Aston Hills, which can be pretty chilly when you're teeing off. I'll just make that a par 5. Okay, I don't get a shot there, but I should just regard that as a par 5 because if I'm reaching, it's probably with a hybrid or a 3-wood. I'd be better off just laying up driver, 9-iron, wedge, hopefully 2-putt from there, take my 5 for 2 and walk on. But that's for a course that isn't super long. That is just out of the blocks a tough way to get your round underway. If you make a par there first up, you are patting yourself on the back, I reckon.
Yeah, it's a good call, actually. That is a very tough hole. I haven't played up there in a while. Might have to go up and have a round.
That's a place where we certainly need to get to. Soph, welcome back. Great to have you on board. Start to think about second holes for next week, because we'll probably work through the entire 18 around South Australia. So second holes will be on the agenda next week. Always great to have you back in town, mate. I'm sure we'll see you at some place soon. Just a reminder, if Scotty Scheffler wins the Travellers a little bit later on, the coffee's on you.
Yeah, fair enough. Coffee, though. I think we might need to make it a beer, Hookie.
We might just do that as well. Good on you, mate. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you next week.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. Look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.